Before we begin this episode, we wanted to let you know that the topic of suicide is discussed. So please make sure to take care of yourself while listening.
Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Hello and welcome to the youth portion of the Healing Generations podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Alejandro Berens Osuna. I'm very excited to introduce our guest for this podcast. She is one of our youth fellows for the summer, who I have had the privilege of working with for the past couple of months. Before we jump into this though, I'll go ahead and pass the palabra to my co-host, Ariel Jimenez. Ariel?
Good morning, buenos dias. Thank you, AB, just for getting us started in a good way. I'm excited today to share space with Kate Quintero, who's been working with us for over a year now. Really jumped in at a different level this summer in terms of co-facilitation with the Joven Noble Circle at, Foothill High School over the summer. So I'm just excited to get started, but thank you, AB, for getting us started in that way. Kate, I'm excited to have you here with us, and I can't wait to hear your story a little bit more and to share space with you. But, before we get started, for us, it's always important that we introduce ourselves. We get this teaching that whenever we are with anybody, whenever we go into anybody's house, it's always important for us to acknowledge everybody. And our version, what we call it, is conocimiento. So we just want to go ahead and get started. And Kate, invite you to share a little bit about yourself. Who is Kate? Who do you represent? Who are you here with?
My name is Kate Quintero. I'm a Chicana. I'm an aunt, and I'm a survivor.
Thank you for that. There's a couple of things that you said right now in terms of, just being a Chicana, being yourself, being a survivor, and a little bit of those identities. Is there anything that you want to share a little bit about? What does Chicana mean to you? Like in terms of growing up here?
Just being connected with my culture and Mexican and American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When I think of the word Chicana, I think of something that Ariel actually wrote yesterday from Theo Jerry's overview, and it's like, we're not from here and we're not from there. Everyone always telling us, we're not American enough to be in America, but we're too whitewashed to be in Mexico. So I think it's having the pride of being in the middle and being able to say, no, I have experiences from both. And for a long time, Chicano was actually used as not a prideful word. So I think that you're using it as a prideful word is very powerful. So I just want to thank you for that. Going to how you got connected to us, to Citlali, Caitlin, Yesenia, and Siena as a whole, you got connected through the teachings, through Girasol, through Joven Noble. So I want to ask, how did that first start for you? Were you Christian, where you walked in one day and was you're going to have me in group today? Were you Ray, where you kind of just got jumped into it? How did that work out for you?
So I had started in the summer of my junior year, and I was kind of not open to being in a group space and just talking about myself. My dad had actually pushed me into it, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. And he had even talked to, I think, Ariel and Silali. And yeah, I was just kind of hard-headed, and I was like, no, I don't really want to be there.
Can you talk a little bit more about why the hesitation about being in a group? I know for a lot of our youth, it's a very scary idea of opening up in front of people you go to school with, but essentially strangers. So can I ask, what hesitation was there, and why did you end up feeling so comfortable to stick for it for a whole year?
So I had never really been open about speaking about my feelings and just in front of people I didn't really know. And I had started in the summer, and I was new to the school, so I was just not really open about, communicating with other people. And I have always been really closed off and just to myself. So when I had started the group, I was just I don't really know how I feel about it. And then I had met Yesenia and Citlali at that point, and I really liked it. It was a different vibe. So.
Well, definitely glad that you joined us, and definitely glad that you stuck around to even becoming a fellow, right? Because I don't think everybody gets that opportunity. But thinking back in terms of the time that you spent in Circle, there was a lot of teachings that were shared amongst you all as participants, but also as the circle keeper, right? If you think about those teachings, is there one teaching that stood out to you the most that you really like connected to that you want to speak about?
I felt it was stereotypes, and just because growing up in a school where it was like a continuation school, everybody kind of looked at you a certain way, and
Mm.
I feel like nobody really like bothered to ask like what was actually going on or like why I would act out, you know? And
Hmm.
it's just because I had problems going on. So yeah, and I feel like I was always looked at like a problematic child.
I definitely hear what you're saying because my mom would always tell me that people looked at Foothill as like, you go there if you fucked up. And so she started telling her coworkers, like, it's not that, it's the second chance school. It's a school for students to take that second chance and really like live through it and go through it with all the support and love from the faculty. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. You actually were blessed enough, a lot of the young women at Foothill, to go through both Joven Noble and our newer curriculum, Girasol, which is specifically for young women. It was made for young women. So I want to ask, not necessarily the differences, but how was it experiencing both ends of those curriculums?
I feel like I liked both of them. The Hoble Noble, I feel like it was more hands-on. Like we would
Mm.
do more activities and stuff. And the other one was more talking about relationships, you know. So I really enjoyed both of them.
Yeah, you mentioned right now the stereotypes in terms of Joven Noble. Is there a teaching within the Girasol one? Because I know you said that it was more interactive, you created more, and there was more opportunities to connect. Is there a teaching from the Girasol curriculum that you really connected to that you took home?
I like to plant, and I feel like that really made me like start liking plants, and I would draw a lot, so like painting and everything like kind of helped me in a way.
Planting is amazing. My grandmother, I honestly just talked about her last podcast when it comes to her garden, was her form of healing. And I think it really helped her throughout like my grandfather's death was just really diving herself into creating things with her hands. And over the months, seeing a sunflower that was this big turn into one that was huge and just the whole experience in itself. And that was her healing. And it looks very differently than like what my healing would look like. So even the word healing itself is very powerful. So how would you define that word healing?
I'd say like just finding peace and feeling like I'm making progress in a way, you know, whether that's like me getting angry again like a day, you know, or just getting upset over little things.
Mm.
I acknowledge, you know, that the process that I've made is, you know, me working towards my healing.
Yeah, I think that question is hard, right? How do you
Yes.
define healing? So it's healing comes to a lot of different people in different ways. So I appreciate, you giving us your version of healing. For us, we always talk about healing, in circle, in our conocimientos, in every space that we're in. Thinking about circle, is there anything that being a participant in circle helped you define healing for yourself? Is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of that process and your connection there?
Well, I feel like before I started group, I didn't really acknowledge or think that I could heal in a way. I felt like I was always just kind of like this person and I had all these problems and issues. And then once I started group, you know, I acknowledged that I could start healing in different ways and I would start reading or drawing little things. And I feel like that really helped me. And yeah, it just made me into a different person.
Mm. You know, you keep talking about drawing, and I realized throughout the summer I have not seen a single drawing of yours. So remind me when I see you next. I'm gonna ask you if I could see some of your art, because now I gotta know what it looks like. I feel like all our fellows are such amazing artists. Addie was an artist, Kate's an artist, so that's amazing. I think Circle definitely helps a lot of us figure out what healing even means. I think for me, what I grew up with these teachings, and it still was a struggle for me to figure out, like, what does healing mean? What does that look like for me? Is it the same road that my dad took? Is it the same road that my mom took? And so it was amazing to have people like Ariel, like Citlatli, that were able to uplift you in your healing journey, even if you didn't know what that was. So I think the question for you would be, who is someone that has helped uplift you in your healing journey as you're walking through it now?
I'd like to acknowledge myself as someone who, for sure uplifted myself in ways that I didn't think I could. And I'd say Yesenia and Silali and Caitlin.
So first, I want to give you props for that, because I think sometimes within our false teachings of our culture, we're not taught to lift up ourselves. We're not taught to talk about that, right? So I want to give you props because you did put in that work and you did make that progress and you did do that transformation. And that was you. So I do definitely want to lift that up. Talking about those three people I got mad love for. One of them is my blood sister, right? So I definitely got mad love for all three of them. If they were in this room and if they were listening, is there something that you would want to just tell them in terms of gratitude?
I would just like to thank them, in a way of kind of showing me that sisterly love, or just I'd look at them as like somebody I just look up to.
Oh man, Caitlin's gonna come crying to work when she hears this podcast. I'm gonna say something, and I hope it's not like besting us out, but we did kind of have like a version of this podcast before we jumped you into it, because we wanted to make sure that you felt comfortable sharing what you had to share. And in that podcast, I mean, we ran around the office asking people this question. It's a very serious question, and you have had a week to prepare for this question. And I know it was one that you kind of had a struggle with. And it was one that even a lot of us in that room had a struggle with. It took us time to pause and really reflect on ourselves. But I want to ask you, when did you realize you were sacred? Or are you still on that path of realizing you're sacred?
I feel like it took me a while to answer this. And I'd say I struggle a lot with mental health just growing up. So I would try to take my life like plenty times. And, I feel like the last time I had tried to take my life, I had took like pills. It was like 50 something pills, and I had drank some alcohol. And at that point, I was just really just over it. And I had like a feeling that it was going to be the end of it. Like I wasn't going to wake up. And waking up that morning, I didn't tell anybody. And I feel like I woke up and I just kind of took a deep breath, and I took it as like, I'm meant to be here for a reason. Like the fact that I didn't have like no stomach issues or nothing was just crazy to me. And I just looked at it like I had people watching out for me, whether that was my brother or, my nana and tata. Yeah, I feel like that was the moment that I realized I was sacred and I had purpose and I was loved.
I want to take a moment to just acknowledge what you shared. I think what you shared is very real, very deep. And I just want to reflect to you, you are loved. We notice your presence when you come into the office. And if at any point you ever feel that you're at that space again, know that we care about you. Know that we're happy when you're here. Know that we're happy when we see you. So, I'm sorry that at any point in your life, you felt that was your only way out. And I just want you to know that if you ever feel like that again, we're here for you 100%. At the same time, I think what you just shared speaks to your healing too. Because a lot of us probably felt that way. A lot of us probably attempted something similar. And we probably don't have the healing or the courage to speak about it. So I just want to take a moment and just acknowledge you for your healing. Thank you for sharing your story, and just let you know that we're here for you if you ever need anything at all.
Thank you.
That question that AB just asked about sacredness is it's hard. Especially, when we were speaking a week ago, some of us said, I don't feel sacred yet. I haven't figured that out. So I think that question, it's hard. So if you were speaking to someone who hadn't figured out that they're sacred yet, what advice would you give to that person?
I'd tell them, to look beyond that or on your past, like, and really just think, you know, like the moment you felt, you know, like you were wanted, or just whether if that's like your form of sacred or not, you know, or if you're still looking for that or trying to find out if you are sacred or not, I feel like there's still hope. So just,
Mm.
you know, you will get there one day.
Hope. That's a very strong word. And I feel like it's something that a lot of us struggle with. Like for me, hope in the morning is waking up. Because for a long time, I didn't think I was going to make it past 18. And now I'm about to turn 19. So I think hope is something important, and it's something that I wouldn't have without my family, without people like Ariel, like you, who just bring so much sunshine into every room that you come into. I mean, the other day you were in the office doing folders with Adriana, and everyone was like, "Wait, where's Kate?" Like, she's right there, y'all. Just go through the door, you'll see her. So hope is definitely important for you when you think of hope. For me, it's a face that comes up. Is there a person that you would say gives you hope in life?
I'd say my nieces and nephews and my brother.
So I'm gonna pivot real quick because I've heard you mention your brother twice. All right, and for me, my brother means the world to me because he was the one that got me out of trouble and the one that got me into trouble. So both. Um, Tell us a little bit about your brother. Is he older, younger? What kind of relationship do you all have? And I have a follow up question that has to do with family. So remind me because I have a follow up question. But I want to know a little bit more about your brother. What is it about him that gives you hope? What is it about him that you even mentioned earlier about someone supporting you? Just tell us a little bit about him.
So my brother, he's actually my cousin, but he lived with us our whole life. So I had always felt like he was my brother. And my parents kind of viewed him as, well, they did view him as their son, and same for my other siblings. My brother passed away a few years back when I was like in sixth grade. He had gotten in a car accident, and that just, I feel like that had changed my whole life, like so much. And my brother was always like, I was kind of always like growing up, I was like the outcast in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had grew up with like my siblings not wanting to play with me, or like just my cousin and my sister just wanting it to be them too. And then my brother would always like come in and just be there and just play with me, and, you know, let me know that I was wanted and that I was like his baby, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I always felt like a strong connection towards my brother. And when he had passed away, I had gotten like a dream, and it was after my first attempt. And at this point, around the time that I had like attempted, I had went to a mental hospital. And after that, I had got a dream, and he had just told me that basically everything that was happening, like he had just said that I wasn't alone, you know?
Mm.
And it had came from somebody who, it was like his suegra. She had came to me and told me about the dream. And she didn't know anything that was going on, like anything at all. So yeah, she had told me that I was going through something really harsh, and that I had went somewhere, and like, you know, I just wasn't in the best state of mind, and that she just told me that he wanted to give me like a hug and tell me that I'm not alone and that he's with me through every step of the way. So I feel like I've always just felt really connected to him.
You know, thank you for that. I didn't realize that he had passed. You know, I just want to say, you know, I'm sorry for your loss, and at the same time, I'm also glad that you've been able to keep that connection too.
Mm.
Because you speak about him like he's just standing right next to you, and that he's walking with you in this journey. So I always appreciate that, and I'm a firm believer too that people send messages in different ways. Sometimes in our dreams, sometimes through hummingbirds, sometimes through the plant life. So thank you for sharing that. You know, and sticking on family, you mentioned that your dad was the one that kind of volunteered you to show up, right? Your dad came
Yeah.
up to us and said, "Hey, I got a person coming into the school that I want to be part of your circle." And it's rare that we hear about connections, people with their dads and just their parents in general. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with your parents and how that has been when you're younger and how that's transformed even to now?
So my relationship with my parents growing up, I'd say it wasn't the best. I was kind of always a troubled kid in a way. Like I just gave my parents a lot of problems, you know, but it's just because I was acting out and stuff. But I feel like now, definitely just being with my parents more and like I'd had to commute with them to come to Foothills. So I'd seen like them struggling, you know, while they were commuting and just my parents are not young, they're like in their 50s. So I just seen them struggle a lot. And I feel like it showed me like a different perspective of them. And I could say now that I have a bond with my dad and my
Mm,
mom that's like, you know, like I could say now that my parents are like my best friends.
that's beautiful. On behalf of all the other 50-year-olds in the world, I want to say they don't think they're old, so I'm playing. Um, it's calling 50-year-olds old.
Said,
I'm just
oops.
playing. But no, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And it really does show that people change and grow in their own ways, and that even if there wasn't a bond in the beginning, you could always get there. Oh, with enough love. So I just want to thank you for sharing. The next question is a question we ask every single podcast, and it is because it is my favorite question in the whole wide world, and I'm gonna get it on a shirt one day. Or you'll get it for me for my birthday. Um, and the question is, if you had a microphone and a stage, everyone in the world could hear what you're saying on this microphone, what is one issue that you would like to uplift?
I'd say that you're not alone, whatever you're going through, and that whether your problem was that you had stepped on a piece of gum that day and, you know, your life had just felt like it was over, your feelings are still valid. Like, I don't
Mm.
feel like we should compare traumas or, you know, feelings. I feel like everybody emotions are valid.
I wasn't expecting that one
No, me neither.
because I think in our society a lot of the times we do compare traumas.
Hmm.
I've even heard Maestro Jerry and Mario Osuna, who's one of my mentors, talk about people have trauma Olympics. Who has it
Mm.
worse? And I don't know if I ever want to win that Olympics. I'm okay not having it bad. But one of the things that you brought up to my mind is that when we sit in circle, a lot of the times we have to find the balance. We talk
Mm.
about our baggages, and we always have to remind some of our young folks, don't forget to lift up your blessings. Don't forget to lift up your gifts because we could get very stuck in the negative. Is there any blessings, any gifts that you want to lift up during this summer? What has been some highlights for you? What has been some things that you're excited about that you want to share with us?
I feel like one thing I'm really excited about was graduating on time. Just
Mm.
because I was always like super bad in school and my parents didn't think I was gonna finish high school and I was kind of going the, you know, wrong route or things were just turning left. But yeah, I'd say school and just building a better bond with my parents.
Congratulations on graduating. I realized we never held a party or anything for you, so remind me Wednesday. We're gonna give you a little something, something for that. Um, I do want to give you a big congratulations, just because, like I said, Foothill's a second chance school, and you definitely took advantage of that second chance. And being out of Foothill now, you're going into a very scary world. And I think that Foothill's kind of like this little bubble in our community, and you're now stepping out of that bubble. So I want to know, what this life beyond Foothill look like for you.
I'd say now it's just I'm starting my, you know, career and just who I really am. I feel like I'm gonna figure that more out in a way.
Hmm.
Who you really are. That's the ultimate question that we all need to figure out, right? So first, congratulations, because I think that's a big accomplishment, graduating on time, especially sometimes when we dig ourselves into a hole.
Mm.
right? We come freshmen in high school and we're like, yeah, I don't got to take this serious. I'll catch up. I'll do some summer school. I don't got to dress out for PE. I don't got to do this. I don't got to do that. And then we're at senior year trying to see what extra classes I could take to make up for, slacking a little bit. But I just want to say, congratulations because you put in the work. You worked double time in order for you to graduate on time. And we all saw the work. So we're here to celebrate you in any way possible. The one that really caught me, though, is you saying your relationship with your parents and the commute and everything like that. Because for me, I struggled with my parents a lot. At the age of 13, I thought I was a grown man and I could do whatever I want. And you're not going to tell me what I can or cannot do. And me and my parents struggled to the point where I even got kicked out of the house. And it wasn't until I turned 18 or 19 that I really saw their struggle. I got to see behind the curtain. So is there something about your parents that you do want to lift up, that you want to tell them? Because sometimes when that transformation happens for us, our appreciation kicks in. But sometimes that appreciation never gets said out loud. At least it didn't for me. I started seeing my dad a little bit different. I started appreciating him, but I never said, Dad, thank you. Thank you for waking up every morning at 5 a.m. and going to work. Thank you for making sure that I always had a bed to come sleep at, even though sometimes that was a couch. So my appreciation never came out until I hit my late 20s. So is there anything that you wish you could tell your parents in terms of that transformation and in terms of them becoming your best friends? Because that's a big thing.
See, I can relate to that in a way. Like, I got kicked out and all that when I was younger, and I just was not doing good. And I always felt like my parents were like the enemies in a way.
Mm,
I feel like being young and just feeling like nobody understands you. And yeah, I looked at my parents in a different way, and my parents were always working, and I had either my siblings raising me or it was my nana and tata who raised us. So I just always kind of looked at my parents like they weren't really there too much in my life, but they were there. So now I would just like to thank them, on their behalf of having a roof over my head and just, seeing their struggles and everything, that they really love us in a whole different other way. And I feel like my parents are just like very caring people, and I feel that they take too much from everybody. And now being in that perspective, like I see it, and I feel like everybody else is kind of selfish in a way. And I
mhm.
let my parents know that, and I'm just like, I have talked to my parents the other day, and I just told them like, I'm sorry for all these things that I did in the past. And yeah.
That must have been healing in itself. That sounds like a very hard conversation that even people that are 40 something years old can't really have. So that's a big one for you. Congratulations on that and being able to, safely say that you're healing not by yourself, but with your parents. Um, our next question is something that you already answered. So I'm going to change it a little bit in the sense of we talked a lot about you in your past self. I want to ask you, you now graduated from Foothill. You have your high school diploma. I've heard the million and one careers you want to do in your life. Like, you're set for success. What is something you want to say to Kate 5, 6 years ago when she was nervous, when she was scared, when she was going through everything she was going through? What advice do you want to give her?
I'd say like I'm still kind of scared in a way just to start school. Like maybe I'm not smart enough, you know? But I would like to tell myself that, I am like worthy enough and I am smart enough. It just, takes the time for me to put in the work and reach for what I want, and what it is I really want. And maybe I might have not known that back then, but now I kind of know that. So I just feel like I would tell myself like, congratulations, and I made it.
You definitely did make it. And I'm glad you made it. There's a lot that you shared thus far in all parts of your journey. So I just want to thank you for that as we close up. And I also just want to give an opportunity for all of us to close up in a good way. Is there anything that you want to mention before we close up this conversation that maybe you didn't get a chance to mention? Maybe a story or a person or a teaching or anything, any closing remarks? There's no question. There's no limits. There's nothing. Up to you. So how do you want to close this up? Any closing remarks that you have for our listeners or for us?
I'd like to say like a quote that always kind of stuck out to me, which is be who you needed for yourself when you were younger.
That's perfect. Because I think we all need that. And we all needed someone at some point. So I thank you for that. AB, any closing remarks on your end? Any beautiful quotes you want to just throw out there?
Nothing that can compare to that. I just want to give a big thank you to you, Kate, for being vulnerable, for saying yes when we asked you literally last week if you were up to do a podcast. You were down. So big thank you to you. You know, I'm excited to see where you go in life, and hopefully you know that once you're in the NCM family, you're in it forever. So we keep updates on each other. Always let us know what's happening if you need any support. And yeah, I'm going to miss you when all the fellows are gone next week. So you better come visit us every now and then. A big thank you to you. Big thank you always to my co-host Ariel for sharing the conversation with me. And a big thank you to our listeners for always tuning in.
Thank you, AB. Thank you, Kate. Just as a way to closing this up, I just want to thank everybody. Specifically, AB, for guiding this conversation in the way that you always do. Kate, man, when we talk about warriors, when we talk about people being brave, you're one of the people that comes to my mind. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your teachings. Thank you for sharing space with us. I don't know if you realize, but today you showed us the wounds, you showed us the past, you showed us the baggage, the blessings, the beautiful, the strength, the courage. So I just want to say thank you. I don't think you realize how many people are going to be able to benefit from your stories, from your healing, and from your journey. So I just want to say thank you for what you've done thus far, and a future thank you for what you're going to do in the future. And I'm excited to see that. So I just want to say thank you to all you, to our listeners. I hope that you guys continue to tune in. We have some powerful youth across the nation that are doing some beautiful work and that are showing us what healing can truly mean, not only for themselves, but for their families and their communities. And we hope that you continue to listen. Please follow us on the Healing Generation podcast. Follow us on Facebook under the National Compadres Network and on Twitter and Instagram under La Cultura Cura. So thank you. Blessings to you all. And we'll see you all next month. Gracias.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.